So, today I want to talk about something that I've experienced myself, and I'm sure you have as well. So many people are going through things that are causing grief amongst us, and many times people don't know how to get through that grief. So, today I want to talk about the 5 stages of grief and how you can properly maneuver and manipulate yourself through the process in a healthy manner so that you can actually move past the thing that's actually causing grief for you. So what are the 5 stages of grief? There's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Now, as I simply explained or just named those 5, which one do you resonate with the most, or do they all sound familiar, or none of them sound familiar? The reason I ask that is because it is definitely important for you to know which stage of the grieving process you're in so that you'll know that you're going along a healthy process. Now, I don't know if it's good or bad, but the thing about grief is it's not linear, which means you don't have to go through these things in this particular order. But this is typically how the process goes. And if you find yourself out of order, it's okay. You're still grieving in a healthy manner as long as you're going through these 5 processes. So let's talk about the first one, denial. Denial is a defense mechanism. It is something that we as humans do to prevent suffering. The ego does not want to experience hurt or pain. Therefore, it protects you by doing things like not accepting something or not seeing something that is an actual physical reality for you, whether you like it or not. But the mind will construct a version of that reality to where you're not suffering, where you're not experiencing that loss. Therefore, you're in denial. Now, anger is also a natural response that we as humans go through when we're experiencing strife or pain or frustration or something that goes against the nature of being in a positive state. So it helps us to, what can I say? It helps us to maintain our sense of control in a situation. So when we're angry, we're taking an action step. That means we are powerful or empowered to do something about the situation. So many times when we're in this angry phase, we definitely take that anger out on somebody that has nothing to do with the particular thing that's caused that grief. Anger is, however, natural and normal. So if you are angry, that's okay. You don't have to feel bad for going through this stage of the grieving process. Now, this one is something that a lot of people get stuck on. It is the bargaining stage. This is where well, if I had have done this, this wouldn't have happened. If I do this, then make this happen. It's like you're trying to make a deal with the universe or God so that the pain or the suffering can actually go away. Bargaining allows us to postpone the pain. It allows us to lessen the blow of the pain. And it is a way for us to also regain control of the situation. Another thing about bargaining is that it makes you feel as if whatever is going on is not directed towards you. Again, the ego has a way of protecting us and it never wants to be wrong. It never wants to suffer. So when you're in that bargaining stage, you're able to give up something to get something back. So you think that's part of the process though. And when you're able to give up something to get something back, you're still in control of the situation. Or at least this is how your brain is thinking. This stage is where a lot of people get stuck at. It's probably the most painful stage because in this stage, depression is where you're starting to get closer to acceptance, but you're battling it. So depression is a normal response to pain, for hurtful situations and experiences. It is your old version battling the new version. So the old version is the thing that you lost. The new version is the opportunity to create something different. So when you're in a grieving process, like you may have lost your spouse or you may have gotten a divorce, in that depression stage, you're thinking to yourself that I don't want to deal with this. It's not real. Let me be sad about it because I want to wallow in my pain. I want to wallow in my sorrow and my pity. It makes me feel better. It makes me feel more in control. But mind you, the depression is actually part of the grieving process, so it's normal. But the problem lies when you stay stuck in that depression. You have to learn how to allow your new version, which creates that which you desire. And you never know, unless it's death, even if it's a divorce, even if it's death, you can not replace that person, but you can move on and find new love somewhere else. So the new version of yourself is trying to convince you that the old version is over with and it's time to move on. So when you're in that depression stage, you're battling back and forth. Some days you may be okay, some days you may not. And then lastly, you have the acceptance stage. This is where you stop resisting. This is where you've learned that there is a new reality and that you have the ability to create a new reality because you don't like that old reality. I mean, you don't like the new reality, so you want to create a newer reality that's more in alignment with who you are and whatever it is that you desire to have. So when you get to that acceptance stage, that's where you begin to free yourself so that you can begin to move on, so that you can begin to love again, so that you can be able to be happy, so that you can succeed in life and that you can achieve the things that you really want to achieve. And again, even in death, and trust me, I know I've lost my father, my two sisters, friends, mates, whatever. So I totally understand that death is a grieving process that we go through and is not as easy. But when you get to that, even in death, when you get to that place of acceptance, you know physically that they're no longer here, but you understand that there is another part of that person that you still are connected to spiritually. So even in death, acceptance is normal. It is mandatory in all things that we deal with in grief. And when you go, and remember, these steps are not linear. So you may get one day you're in denial and the next day you're accepting it. Then the next day you bargaining again, and the next day you're in depression. So you'll continue to go back and forth through these steps in this process until you've actually gotten to the place of where you've gotten over the pain and you're able to move on with your life to create a better one. I hope this helps. And for those of you who are suffering from pain, going through this grieving process, I pray for you. And I know, I have faith in you that you will find your way through this. Let me know your comments and thoughts below.